3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everybody, this is Daniel Gray. I'm the Trailer Park Prophet coming at you live from Crestone, Colorado. This is Hump Day with the Prophet. All right, everybody. Hi, how are you doing? Wonderful day here in Crestone, Colorado. Thanks a lot for being here. I mucho appreciate it. Hump Day with the Prophet. God, I got a lot to talk about today, a lot going on in my life. I'm going to be going to the Swatch County Republican Organization meeting. They want to figure out a strategy on how to reach young people. They're really worried in Swatch, Colorado about not being able to have an opportunity to have a say about what Republicans are. They're being defined by the school system here. And I have a feeling there's a lot of other groups around the country that are having the same kind of discussion. They understand right now that we are in deep trouble with Obama and the progressive socialists running everything in the USA and running a lot of the stuff that's going on in Europe and elsewhere. I think people are concerned right now. I think people understand now that the politically correct agenda that has been hoisted upon us is nothing but old-fashioned socialism, statism. And they understand, like Karl Marx did and other great political thinkers, that you got to reach the young generation. You have to talk to the young generation. You got to at least open up an avenue and tell them that you're there to tell your side of the story. Otherwise, the schools are going to tell them what they want them to know and not tell them what they don't want them to know. Lie by omission. Our schools are nothing more than places for progressive socialist indoctrination. And also they're almost creating sort of a worker class that are nothing but mind-numbed zombies who go out in the world and continue preaching the progressive ideology, do their little job, say they love Mother Earth. It's a horrible thing. I was thinking about our education system and all of the ironies about how they tell kids today to think outside the box. You've heard that a million times before. And yet, we put kids in big boxes called schools and tell them to think outside the box, which means we're not really being truthful because we don't want the kids to think outside the box. We want the kids to learn everything they know about life and history from within the box run by the union teachers. That's really what their goal is. And yet they say the exact opposite thing, which is kind of what the progressive socialists do all the time. They say one thing and then they actually do another, like diversity. The progressive socialist movement doesn't celebrate diversity. It just doesn't. Anything but. But it's right out of the playbook from Sal Alinsky or Francis Fox Piven or C.J. Mill. Not C.J. Mill, but at any rate, another one of those progressive socialist thinkers, J.S. Mill, I think his name is. Regardless, you got to get into the kids' heads. Otherwise, your movement doesn't have any purpose. But it talks about, I think I lost my train of thought there. I was thinking about Frances Fox Piven, and how she preached that you can crush the capitalist society in the USA if you're able to overload the welfare system. And here today, that's exactly what we're doing under the Obama administration by allowing our borders to be wide open. Recipe for disaster. All right, I lost my train of thought there. We're going to talk about Mohammad. We're going to talk about some economic news and some things I've been hearing on the radio. Yesterday I listened to Rush Limbaugh, and I might have listened to a little bit of Glenn Beck, but there's a few things that I wanted to talk about, and they bear being repeated. So if you know these news stories, then just make sure you have them ready on your mind to be able to use and interject in conversations you're having with people out there in your everyday life. And that's the other thing too. One of the things that we can do out there is try and approach these kids and at least let them know that we're out there. We're conservative. We're concerned about this country. We have a feeling that we're headed the wrong directions, that Obama wasn't really what he said he was. And we all have to be soldiers for liberty, is basically the bottom line. Each and every one of us has to help pull this wagon of freedom. Otherwise, we're gonna lose it. All right, let's see, starting off here, Paul Volcker. You might remember he was the head of the Federal Reserve during President Bush, I believe, and also might have been there under Clinton. Paul Volcker, head of the Federal Reserve. He allegedly said that back in 2008, that Russia and China were involved with trying to bring down our financial markets. We had the financial markets collapse back in 2008, and Paul Volcker was saying that it was in fact the Russians and the Chinese were doing everything they could possible to try and expedite the financial collapse of the USA. Which goes back to what we were talking about 2 weeks ago, that Soviet Union is still our #1 geopolitical foe, even though the Obama administration and the progressive socialist statist movement would have you to believe otherwise. And then we found out too, remember we reported on Friday and Monday that President Obama was going to see that there were sanctions put in place against Russia for invading Crimea, which is a portion of the Ukraine. And we were laughing about how that's like swatting a fly instead of sending a tank or a fighter plane. At any rate, we found out that the sanctions, remember that President Obama put on Russia, was actually put on individuals. We reported that on Friday. Individual Russian diplomats and leaders, and it accounted for about 8 different Russian officials. And of course, Putin made fun of that, and he said in jest that he was going to put sanctions on Obama's bank account and whatnot. And so really, this is a recognition by Putin that President Obama is feckless. He's absolutely feckless. And then it was reported by Rush Limbaugh that the 8 or so Russian diplomats that got sanctioned were actually Russian authorities that spoke out against Obama and his push for Russia to be more open-minded towards gays. So the people that got the sanctions were the Russians who said something derogative about gay rights. So here we are, our country in the midst of what some are saying a reconstitution of the Soviet Union, and our president is sanctioning Russian officials, not Russia, that were involved in anti-gay sentiment. So in the international world, when countries do what Russia just did and don't honor international treaties, don't honor international borders, that's one of the most egregious things that a country can do. And our president sees that on the level of someone denying rights to gay people. That's the equivalency that Obama is choosing to weigh in on this issue of Russia going into the Ukraine. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, anytime another country invades another country, that's a big deal. That's probably the worst thing a country could ever do to another country, short of bombing it. It's an act of war. Clearly, it's an act of war. And all of our treaties with the Ukraine and Europe and NATO all say the same thing, that we would come to the Ukraine's aid in the event that they were invaded, which they've been done. And yet, our president is putting sanctions on Putin, Russian administrative officials who have snarky remarks to say about gay people. And what I wonder, and what you should be wondering, is how does Russia and Putin take in all of this? I mean, they must be laughing their asses off behind closed doors at President Obama, because he seems virtually feckless or clueless. And that's why I brought out that it may be something more, and that President Obama may be being blackmailed by Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. Because remember, Putin was the head of the USSR's KGB, which is our CIA. And you can imagine that Putin knows everything there is to know about Barack Hussein Obama, aka Barry Soetoro, and his mother, and his father. And they most likely know all about his college career and all the other stuff that we've wanted to find information about. Putin could even know whether or not Obama's birth certificate is Jake. Or where, I always ask, well, what country did Barry Obama or Barry Soetoro change his name back to Barack Hussein Obama? What country? Where did that happen? All that paperwork can't be found, but I think you can bet safely that President Putin knows everything there is to know about Barack Hussein Obama. And if he does know that kind of stuff, then he would understand that all he'd have to do is let Barack Hussein Obama know that he knew, that Putin knew, and he can blackmail the president. In fact, I'm saying to you right now, I'm looking in my plastic crystal ball, and I have a strong feeling that President Barack Hussein Obama is being blackmailed by Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. And it's over Barack Hussein Obama's past. Or it could be part of these stories that we read all the time that Barack Obama is actually a Muslim Brotherhood sympathizer. Something big. And I say that because Obama has pretty much just rolled over on this Ukraine invasion by Russia. He's rolled over. I mean, he like I said on Monday, I mean, he's going through these cursory, check the box kind of response. I mean, he has to make some kind of a response, and that's why him and John Kerry are making these tepid, sissy kind of responses to Vladimir Putin's invasion of the Ukraine. I mean, even, you know, we played that tape. I think we had that tape of Kerry, but I heard it on Rush Limbaugh. And John Kerry, our Secretary of State, basically told Russia on Monday that they better get out of the Ukraine or there might be consequences. And he wanted to assure President Putin that none of this was personal. Now, what kind of skippy, sissy, limp-wristed nobody would say something like that to another foreign leader that's invaded a country unless they wanted to make it crystal clear to President Putin that the Obama administration is not going to do a damn thing about Russia invading the Ukraine. That's the signal, as far as I'm concerned. And Putin may have even told him what to say. I mean, that's how far down the badger hole I think this administration is. Oh, God. Oh, we got some interesting news from Colorado. We should do some background music. Do you mind? If you guys got a minute? Hang on. I want to turn on some background music. I don't know why. It just helps me. Nature background music. That dog barking is really hard to take. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what to do. Okay, let's see. No, we don't want love song. Here we go. Healing energy, meditation music, relax the mind, calm down, nature sounds. It only goes for an hour. Yeah, that's good. Alright, let me check, make sure everything's okay at my Blog Talk Radio studio, and it is. If you want to call into the program, you can do that. You can dial 646-716-8506. Again, if you'd like to talk to the Trailer Park Prophet live on Blog Talk Radio, dial 646-716-8506. And hopefully I'll see you if you call in. Sometimes I don't see you when you call in, and you got to be a little patient, alright? I know it's costing you money, but I don't know what to tell you. Oh, here's the news from Colorado. This is really good news. I was really surprised. I think I got this from Rush Limbaugh too yesterday. But this is out of Colorado, and it's polling of Colorado's Hispanic community, which is very large. And, you know, it dovetails with exactly what I've been telling everybody for a long time, that blacks, and most particularly Hispanics, are not a monolithic group. And if you listen to the rhetoric and the narrative from the progressive socialist statists, they insinuate that Latinos are this monolithic group, and that they're liberal and they want more government, and in particular they want Obamacare. Well, that's not the case. This scientific survey in Colorado said that 56% of Latinos, 2/3 of Latinos in Colorado, do not like Obamacare. 56%, 2/3. That's a lot. That's a hell of a lot. It's almost 2/3, 56%. I guess it's not almost 2/3. 2/3 would be 66%. Well, you know, it's close. At any rate, 56% of Latinos in Colorado do not like Obamacare. And 36% of Hispanics do like Obamacare. 36 to 56. See, now that's a big, huge gap in statistics. That's a really big gap. And again, you know, as this summer goes along and more people are going to find out what's going on with their health care, you're going to find this number go to hell too. Now remember, we already know that Obama's poll numbers have been dropping like a rock. I believe he only has 38% approval rating, and Obama's approval rating with every category imaginable is going down. I think even his numbers are going down with blacks, but for sure Obama's poll numbers have been going down with married women, unmarried women, blacks, or not blacks, Latinos. That's what this poll says. And, oh yeah, the millennials. Remember the millennials, the young people, 18 or 14 to 35. They're down on Obama because of all that NSA spying stuff. And I heard something today, I want to repeat this. I heard a little bit of Rush Limbaugh, but I wanted to say that he says that the story we reported on about the Obama administration giving away the internet to the UN, that is not necessarily the case. Rush Limbaugh is not convinced that that's the case. And remember, I gave several quotes from one of my friends, David, that said that's not the case either. And so that could be an example of misinformation that's being put out there by the right, or people that want to somehow damage Obama's reputation. And again, because if that's the case, that would be treason. So we got to stay on this story, but I hope you would find something. If you know something more definitive about whether or not the U.S. of A has given away their power and domain and control of the internet, I need to know. So just find a story, and you can get on my Facebook page, Daniel Gray, Trailer Park Prophet, and we need to know if that's the case. Because if that's the case, and that information is being held from us, then I can't imagine anything more of a impeachable offense than to give away the internet to the UN. But, alright. So if you know anything, let me know. Here's another story that Rush was talking about. And I'm not surprised at all. In California, Northern California, they're building a light rail line or some kind of a mass transit line. And in the route they picked, there happens to be a very rare albino redwood. All right? And the people that designed the commuter rail line decided to take out this insanely red whitewood or white albino redwood that was in their plans. Now they said now they're going to change their plan, but it kind of cracks me up that liberals, when they're building something, they do whatever they want to, and what they're building is more important than any natural feature. And to take out a living tree when liberals are so profoundly, emphatically patting themselves in the back and proclaiming their liberalism and their environmentalism, and yet they would be involved with a situation where a very rare albino redwood would have to take a fall for one of their major planks of forcing everybody onto mass transit. So mass transit trumps nature, and that's the takeaway. Same thing with minority rights, black rights, gay rights, women's rights, children's rights. Remember, all those rights are trumped by socialism and statism and progressivism. In the end, minority rights will be trumped by progressive socialism. Trust me. I remember one time here in Crestone, these Buddhists, there's about, 6 different sects of Buddhists here in Crestone, Colorado. And I'll never forget, they were building a road up to their high, wherever their special place was to celebrate. And instead of changing their design around, they took out a 400-year-old cedar tree. Just wiped it out. Probably one of the oldest cedar trees in all of the forest around Crestone. And they took out this old cedar tree. And I couldn't believe my eyes. Right there at the base of this Buddhist temple. Unbelievable. Let's see here. I heard this on Rush Limbaugh too. This really cracked me up. I should see if this is... I should look this story up. This might be kind of funny. Talking about, I believe it was Michelle Obama. Let's see, said that higher food prices would help obesity. Can you believe that? That there's a good side to higher food prices. And I don't know about you, but I think food prices are going up. And I'm always asking mothers, who have families, and I talk to businesses. I can see that they're having a hard time, that they're having to raise their prices. Let's see. Food prices linked to obesity rate. High cost of healthy food means kids eat more junk. Would higher prices for high fat or unhealthy food reduce? So they're all over this issue. I mean, I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the mainstays of Obamacare, because they're going to be able to rationalize in the future, because you're relying on government health care. Now we can have a vested interest, or the government has a vested interest in what you eat and what you don't eat and how much you eat. So this is going to be the eventual end to Obamacare, is that they're going to be telling everybody, you're going to be eating what we tell you to eat, because we don't want to pay for whatever consequences there are for bad eating habits. I don't know, I don't see this. Oh, this is in the Wall Street Journal. Maybe this is the story. But this was supposedly food prices linked to obesity rates. This is in the Wall Street Journal. Article here written by Khadija Sodar. The price and the food options may be exacerbating the childhood obesity epidemic in the U.S., according to new research in a working paper published by the National Bureau of Economic Research. Economist Michael Grossman examined the connection between the body fat compositions of youth across the U.S. countries from 1990. I don't know, blah, 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 blah. This isn't what I thought it was. Says the evidence seems to suggest that taxing unhealthy foods or subsidizing healthy alternatives might be a way to fight the growing youth obesity epidemic, but the economists warn against price regulation. Taxes are blunt instruments that impose significant welfare costs on individuals who consume food in moderation. Moreover, in the case of adolescents, an additional issue is that parents may more easily and immediately affect the choices made by their children than the government. Taxing unhealthy food. What a concept. Alright, let's see what's going on here. I got a bunch of stuff today. Interesting day. Kind of a slow... Oh, you know what? Let's go to Drudge. Let's make sure... I want to make sure nothing's going on that we don't know about. Oh, have you heard anything new about the Malaysian aircraft carrier? I'm trying to think if I've heard anything. Oh, I know what I heard, or the thought. What if they actually took over the plane and then flew it dark, meaning they turned off the lights, turned off all the communication devices, all the pinging devices, and flew it someplace and landed it? All right, here we go. Says here, press ban during Michelle Obama's China trip. What? Once we lose access, we'll never get it back. Oh, this is Rush was talking about. This is kind of a big story. You know, Obama decided here a while back that they were no longer going to allow cameras into any event that the president and first lady were at, because the White House wanted to take their own pictures and decide which ones were released to the press. They want to control the pictures. So this says here that First Lady Michelle Obama will be accompanied by her children and her mother on a trip to China, which begins today, but she won't be accompanied by the press. Michelle Obama's trip to China starting on Wednesday will be non-political. The White House says a people-to-people exchange emphasizing the importance that both nations place on education, as if to underscore the point. No reporters are traveling with the First Lady, and she does not plan to give interviews while there. And this is, of course, from the New York Times. The White House is defending the First Lady bringing her family along for the ride by saying it's what the Chinese would want. Tina Tichin, Mrs. Obama's chief of staff and first-generation Chinese-American, said a multi-generational visit would be appreciated by the Chinese who value tradition, says the Times. Well, you notice the First Lady's not traveling with someone from her family, a.k.a. her husband. I mean, that's just kind of odd. And I'll bet you anything, President Obama is going to be partying down when Michelle's in China. He's going to have Reggie Love over there. They're going to be smoking pot and drinking and snorting coke. And I'll bet you Barry Obama is going to be sucking some dick. I'm telling you, it's going to be a good time in the White House when Michelle's in China. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Alright, where was I? Oh, here's something funny I got from one of my black conservative friends, Eve Afro City Brown. Shows a picture of a Social Security card, and underneath the caption, "We keep hearing about Social Security is running out of money, and yet the welfare state, we never hear, how come we never hear that the welfare state is going to be running out of money?" Good question. And it goes on to say, what's interesting is the first group worked for their money, but the second group did not. Oh, this is kind of a funny story. Hopefully this story has legs, man. I'm waiting for some salacious stories coming out of this White House. This is from Conservative Outfitters. White House pastry chef resigns. He says, "I don't want to demonize cream, butter, sugar, and eggs." That is so funny. This comes from the Daily Caller. And it says that the White House executive pastry chef Bill Yosis is resigning after First Lady Michelle Obama fundamentally changed his job duties to focus on healthier food. Yossis is leaving the White House in June to work on a new project focusing on food literacy. And the New York Times says Michelle is partly to blame. The openly gay chef was hired by Laura Bush in 2007 to make the trademark cookie plates and sugar sculptures. Mrs. Obama took over in 2009 and ordered Yossis to make healthier plates in smaller portions. Yossis began replacing butter with fruit puree and sugar with honey and agave, but Yossis has never fully committed to the new policy. Quote, "I don't want to demonize cream, butter, sugar, and eggs," Yossis said, noting that his departure from the White House is a bittersweet decision. And we do have a Michelle Obama response, but I don't know, we got a lot to do today, so it's probably good that we move on. Let's see. Oh man, interesting story. If you go to my Facebook page, or I guess you could Google elephant plays with smartphone. Amazing video, really amazing. This young girl, in fact, I can probably play it and talk while it's being played. There's what looks to be a rather young elephant. I believe it's an Indian elephant. And this young girl, she looks like she's 14, and she's holding up a pretty big smartphone in front of this elephant. And the elephant is pushing on the smartphone screen, and it has keys, and he understands to make noise, the elephant does, but it's using its nose to manipulate the smartphone. And the elephant knows to skim across with its nose and go from picture to picture to picture. I mean, it's really remarkable. This elephant it completely can see the screen of this smartphone and understands that the elephant can manipulate the screen. It's just unbelievable. It really, when you see this elephant manipulate this smartphone with its nose, you realize that these elephants got a lot going on. I mean, this elephant, in essence, is using a tool. And I love elephants. And the elephant waves goodbye. It's an Indian elephant. Oh my God, so beautiful. It's from Elephant Plays with Smartphone. And it's from an organization called Sun Gazing. But it's putting a tear in my eye just thinking about how an elephant can manipulate a smartphone. And again, if you'd like to see this video, you can go to my Facebook page, Daniel Gray, Trailer Park Prophet. Oh, this is kind of funny here. We might have some video. All right, let me turn down the mood music here for a minute. I think we might have some other video. Now this is a pretty interesting story. This is from Adam West, one of my heroes in life. He's running for Congress as a Republican in Florida. He's a black man, professional soldier. And he's talking about March Madness. In case you didn't know, we're right in the middle of the NCAA men's basketball tournament, commonly referred to as March Madness. However, already the Obama administration is ruining it for us college basketball enthusiasts. An advertising campaign, get a load of this, called 16 Sweetest Reason to Sign Up for Obamacare, dovetails off the NCAA tournament's Sweet 16 theme and cast a socialist propaganda cloud over the whole proceedings. So now we'll be bombarded until March 31st with images of LeBron James, Alfonso Mourning, Magic Johnson, North Carolina men's basketball coach Roy Williams, UConn's women's basketball coach Geronimo Armenian. As a Tennessee grad, I never liked that guy. And others peddling us this failed healthcare policy. And Alan West goes on to say, he goes, I wonder if any of those political tools agrees with wealth redistribution, because that's the end state of Obamacare. And he goes on to say, hey, I just realized something. Why do they get paid so much money for playing coaching or having played a game? What about all the income inequality? Why shouldn't someone like myself, a former soldier and a retired combat veteran, make the same money as these fellas? Oops, that's right. Progressive socialists live by the do as I say, not as I do commandment. We poor, simple, hard-working schmucks should just cheer and turn over our money so these guys can tell us to surrender to the collective will of Obama Rex. Hey, Obama bots, the young folks ain't buying into this mess. Boy, you can bet President Obama hates Alan West with every fiber of his being. Oh, we never went to Drudge. Let's go check out Drudge. I thought I had that video of an advertisement. I want to hear one of these advertisements. I want to hear Magic Johnson tell us that we need socialized health care. Alright, I guess we don't have any video. See, I turned off the good music for nothing. But let's go to Drudge. You know, we did see that one story. I went off on a little tangent there. I always have this suspicion I'm missing a big headline. Let's see. Illinois GOP voters seek to upend political order. DC abortion fund offers coat hanger pendant for donors. What? Chinese insurer offers smog policies. Satellite image shows flight in skies above jungle. Throws down gauntlet. Putin in charge. Ukraine on armed alert as war fears grow. ABC's Nightline skipped Obamacare for 123 days. Lying by omission. Now, I believe this. A new study out there, losing sleep could kill brain cells. I believe that. Let's see here. Another survey. Half of adults believe in medical conspiracies. What? Medical conspiracies? Oh, I know. Like, some people will tell you, I'm sure you've heard this before, that science has had a cure for cancer, but the drug companies prevent them from actually bringing that cure to market. That kind of conspiracy. Robot Snowden promises more revelations. Oh my God. Snowden, of course, is the guy that walked off with computers and thumb drives filled with secret information from the NSA. Oh, another 6.6 magnitude aftershock. This is the 11th in Brentwood. Bankers fear leaks from the ECB health check. Alright, not much going on. Woman fakes heart attack, steals $60 from Good Samaritan. World Cup fans may face water dearth in largest Brazilian city. Oh no. Thieves pry off ancient fresco from the Pompeii walls. Report premiums rising faster than 8 years before Obamacare combined. Oh, string of suicides rocking financial world baffles experts. Now, this story, I've been meaning to do this, but all of these so-called big-time bankers are unceremoniously dying at a faster rate than any other class of workers out there. And of course, the conspiracy people are suggesting that the reason these rich bankers are killing themselves is they know that we're in line for a huge, gargantuan financial collapse. Let's see. Alright, I got better stories than this for you. I'm just glad. I just wanted to check in. Alright, let me make sure we don't have any callers. If you want to call into the program, you can do so. Dial 646-716-8506. Again, that number if you want to talk to the Trailer Park Prophet. 646-716-8506. 646-716-8506. Moving on. I mean, let me ask you, do you think you're going to be moved by having some old jock, some old basketball player tell you that you ought to sign up for Obamacare? You think that's going to have any weight on your decision? Do you think it's going to have any weight at all? I mean, obviously, well, not obviously, but I'm assuming some people will be swayed by that. Listening to Larry, was it Larry Bird? Was Larry Bird one of those people? I can't remember. Okay, it was Magic Johnson. Who are those other people? Oh, Alfonso Mourning. God, I already forgot these guys' names. That are going to be in the March Madness Obamacare advertising campaign. Okay, LeBron James. That's a big name. He's still playing. That's huge. Alfonso Mourning, like I said. Magic Johnson, everybody loves him. And then basketball coach Roy Williams. I wonder, I hate to play the race card on you, but I wonder if all these people are blacks. All the players are black. You think they would have got one white player in there to press for Obamacare? Or maybe they just said, no thank you. And the reason these three black players want to help out the president is because he's black. I'm telling you, man, we are devolving in this country at a fast rate, my fellow lovers of liberty. This is kind of interesting. It was on this day in 1993 that federal agents raided the Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. 4 ATF agents and 6 Branch Davidians were killed in initial raid. The 51-day siege ensued, ending with a FBI assault during which the compound burned down, killing 76 people, including David Koresh. And I always felt like this was a bad deal. I felt like our government has all the time and patience that a great country should have in these instances, and that it was inappropriate for our federal government to try and assault a compound of free-minded people doing what they felt like they wanted to do with their lives. I'm still troubled by this, and of course, remember that's what led to the Oklahoma federal building bombing by Timothy McVeigh. Was this brazen attack on the Branch Davidian compound, killing all these people. A lot of these people were children. And of course, this was during the Clinton administration. And after this attack and all these people got burned to death on national television, then remember Bill Clinton made it out to sound like it was actually his Department of Justice that she actually made the decision. So he hid behind his very own Attorney General's skirt and said, oh, I didn't order that attack. It was her. I can't think. Janet Reno. Janet Reno? Yeah, Janet Reno. Clinton didn't want to take the rap for the attack in 1993 of the Branch Davidian compound, so he blames it on Janet Reno, and she was happy to fall on her sword for the president. But what an ugly, ugly scene, you know. I had a bad feeling when I saw this back in 1993, and I think a lot of people did. And my friend Ling Ling says about this disaster, you are either with him or against him. You have to make a choice, people, which is true. He's talking about David Koresh, the charismatic, whacked-out leader. And Pete Smite says, you are either with him or against him. You have to make a choice, people. He's quoting Ling Ling. He says, that's the problem with most U.S. folks. The idiot enemy of my idiot enemy is still an idiot. Those are thousands of shades of gray, and black nor white don't even exist. Black is the absence of light. White is when all the colors in the spectrum come together. So cannot exist without them other colors. That's science. Seems a bit taboo over yours. I have no idea what I just read. He writes probably about as good as I do. Now, Walter Kohlhorst says all the ATF agents had to do was wait for him to leave the compound and arrest him. This was a human rights tragedy. Also, the sect wasn't in the mainstream of the Christian right, so it was just dandy to slaughter women and children. And what Walter's talking about is David Koresh, I guess, was slipping out of the compound, or even before this happened, they wanted Koresh, and he was in town. He was hanging out in coffee shops in Waco, Texas, and that's what Walter's talking about. ATF could have easily picked him up off the streets of Waco, but instead initiated this siege of the compound. And that has been one of the suspicions all along, was that the Justice Department or the Clinton administration wanted to have this showdown and wanted to show other religious groups that the federal government will actually attack a compound after they've been in the position of siege for a reasonable amount of time. And for those of us who watch these sort of things and see our individual rights slowly erode, we look at situations like this, like Waco, and we say, oh my God, I mean, this is a tyrannical government. They're willing to use military force to overthrow a religious sect, which means they're willing to do almost anything to overthrow any organization that is against the government. That's the message. And Larry Steyer, he says, Janet Reno, the reason I have not voted for a Democrat for 20 years, and it goes way beyond Larry Potts. I mean, the cover-up of weapons smuggled into our country, CIA's session, and FBI's Louis Freeh had their ultra-covert operation on gun running through LAX, blown by the Clinton White House after coffee one afternoon in the Rose Garden. All the criminals quietly left the country just days before the FBI was going to arrest them. Now, how does Larry know this? I don't know. Hard to say. Okay, what in the world is this? Oh. Alright, this sounds rather unbelievable. Let's see here. This is unbelievable, and I would not have believed it if it was not sourced in Guinness. That means Guinness, the Book of Records. That was one very busy couple in the bedroom. 67 of the 69 children born were said to have survived infancy. My hat's off to Mrs. and Mr. Finodor Vasilyev for the ability to manage a family this large. There are some small villages who have less people. Mr. Vesvalyev also had 18 children with his second wife, who had 6 pairs of twins and 2 sets of triplets, making him a father of 87 children in total. That is one fertile man who matched up with equally fertile women. Wow. And they lived in Russia in the 1700s, and allegedly this woman gave birth to 16 pairs of twins, 7 sets of triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets in just 40 years with the same man. And it actually shows a picture of this family, and there's as many people as there are in a football team, maybe even a few more. Unbelievable. Can you imagine having, what was that, 78 kids? And I imagine they knew the names of all the kids, right? They all become individuals in your life, I would think. Or maybe not. I don't know. I mean, you could make them wear name tags. I think I would. Now, I couldn't remember 78 names. No way. I wouldn't even try. So that would be the rule in my house. If I had 78 kids, it would be name tags on everything. And they'd probably change their name tags around or get them mixed up, and you'd be calling them the wrong name anyway. Oh, this is a pretty big story. Breaking news yesterday. It was all over the internet. The New York State Senate rejected a bill that would have granted in-state tuition to illegal aliens. And that's a big deal for New York. I mean, New York is predominantly progressive socialist status. So for their New York State Senate to reject a bill granting in-state tuition to illegal aliens is a really a big deal. Let's get some music going here again. If it's too loud, would you call in and let me know? Call the Trailer Park Prophet at 646-716-8506. Please call the Prophet. I can send, I wonder how this works. Search callers. I'll just put Obama. I'm on my show keyword. Alright. Nothing's going to come of that. You don't know what I'm talking about. There's a feature on my Blog Talk Radio. I can send out a keyword, a subject word on what's going on here at the Trailer Park Prophet Show. And if anyone's interested in the show, or if they want to call in, they might call in. Usually what I do is just increase the number of people that are listening to the show, which, by the way, thank you very much. The show's getting bigger and bigger every week, and I can't tell you how grateful I am. I understand that this is citizen journalism, and sometimes I'm probably somewhat trying on your nerves, but you're here, and I'm grateful, and it means the world to me. All right, moving on here. Where did I get this? I got this from Doug Davis. Quote, the First Amendment issue here is, as the parties frame it, fairly narrow. Is there a constitutionality protected right to videotape police carrying out their duties in public? Basic First Amendment principles, along with case law from this and other circuits, answer the question unambiguously in the affirmative. Yes, sir, says Judge Kermit Victor Lipez. And this was in 1941. Senior United States Circuit Judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit on August 26, 2011. So it got reconfirmed. And thank God, man. One time, I think I told you this, did I tell you this? I told somebody this recently, that I was at the Saguache County Courthouse. I was on the second level, and I happened to see Sheriff Mike Norris and the mayor of Crestone walking together, and I videotaped it, and Sheriff Norris comes storming up there and took away my tape and told me that I don't have any right to be videotaping him or the mayor or anybody else, and he just, it was just a nasty work of art. And I can't wait till Mike Norris is out of office. He'll be out of office in November, and I'd like to be able to go up to him after that and tell him succinctly what I think of him after he doesn't have a badge anymore. I saw this. This is so funny. This is kind of a spoof on what happened to the Malaysian 777 Boeing 777 that went missing. Been gone now for 10 days. At any rate, there was a headline article on Sport, one of those tabloids you see in the grocery store. And the headline is, "Missing Plane Found on the Moon." So that's got to make you feel a little bit better. Oh, I got to check. Oh, I better just turn it off. Making some rice and beans for me and the Barker. By the way, if you or somebody you know is thinking about traveling to a foreign country and would like to have some companionship, someone to show you the sights, you can go to the Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection, and we have over 20,000 women that we have screened ourselves personally in offices all across the United States, all across the Latin America, Asia, everywhere. We have offices all over the world. Just type in Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection. You can go to our site and you can see all of these profiles that have pictures, and the women tell you about themselves, their likes and dislikes, and what they want in a man, and what they like to do, and what languages they speak. So if you know someone, or you're somebody that is considering maybe going in a foreign country, just type in Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection. Okay, let's see here. Oh, this was something else that Rush Limbaugh said yesterday. Now, this is kind of a big deal, because what's going on now in a lot of the drive-by media, as Rush calls it, anything that Rush says on the radio, there's some kind of a response on one of the liberal news outlets, like Media Matters or Huffington Post or MSNBC. And yesterday, I think it was, Rush was talking about what President Obama and Europe can do to Russia to get their attention if they were really serious on using sanctions. Let's see, maybe we have a video here. So let's give a listen here. This is, again, Rush Limbaugh yesterday, I believe, talking about if President Obama and Europe are really serious about putting some sanctions on Russia that actually had some teeth, that this is what they can do. So, all right, Mr. Limbaugh, welcome to the Trailer Park Prophet Show.
That Obama and the European Union could do, it's a very easy way to punish Putin in a way that would really matter. They could kick him out of the IMF and the G8, which would mean it would cost Russia more to do business with the rest of the world. They could do that. He's not going to do that. The fact that he's sanctioning all these individuals, they don't care, folks. They think they have to make it look like you do. They have to make it look like they care, because they know you do. Doesn't care. Reducing America's standing in the world was the objective. It's the original Limbaugh theorem. If Obama wants this nation taught a lesson, if this nation's got to be brought down to size, It's not just going to happen domestically, economically. It's going to happen internationally as well. Remember, Obama, he doesn't believe in American exceptionalism. He doesn't believe in any of the things about the United States being policeman of the world or being the outpost of liberty or freedom in the world. He's never believed that. He doesn't think we've ever been a legitimate superpower. He's been of the belief that that's been illegitimate and not warranted.
So, I mean, what can you say? These are things that the president could do if he was really serious about his rhetoric. And usually what will happen is the rhetoric will be strong and the response will be soft. But in this case with Obama, the rhetoric is soft and the response is soft. That's why I think the president is being blackmailed by Putin. But like he said, you know, you cut him out of the G8, you cut him out of the IMF, and then you basically cut Russia off at the knees, which would be exactly what you'd want Russia to think that you were going to do is cut them off at the knees. I mean, your diplomatic response has to be as crippling in magnitude as the magnitude of one country invading another. The appropriateness of the response dictates the seriousness of the rhetoric. You see what's going on here? And the rhetoric and the response by America is totally tepid. This is just like Neville Chamberlain. This is basically appeasement. And people that have studied diplomacy understand clearly that this president of ours, Barack Hussein Obama, is for some reason being very tepid in his response. And some of us out there are really curious to know, why is it that our president is being so tepid? And I've offered up my suggestions, and if you have any, you can write them on my Facebook page, Daniel Gray, Trailer Park Prophet, or call in. Let me see if anybody's there. I have a feeling somebody's there right now. Let's see, search callers. No, no one's there. I wonder where. Show all. I'm really concerned you guys are calling in and I can't see them on my studio board. And if that's the case, again, I know there's some of you I don't see, so I gotta apologize. I'm just getting self-conscious because more and more people are trying to call in. USA Today got this 20 hours ago. It says here, even as the Obama administration works to provide health care coverage to millions of uninsured Americans, government investigators uncovered dozens of cases where the VA failed to cover emergency hospital costs for uninsured disabled veterans. If the government can't provide for veterans, how can the government provide for every American? And, you know, this was a question I was bringing up back in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, and that is, the government does a bad job of providing health care. And as an example, you can look at the Veterans Administration health care is always in turmoil. And the other example of turmoil in health care that the government runs is Medicaid and Medicare. There's reportedly, $100 billion worth of fraud, fraud, abuse, and waste, something like that. $100 billion a year in Medicare. In Medicaid, I think I saw pretty much the same number there. But at any rate, there's billions and billions of dollars that are wasted in the Veterans Administration healthcare plan, Medicaid, and Medicare. Hundreds of billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. Waste, fraud, and abuse. So what would make anyone think that the federal government could run all of our health care, which is roughly 1/5, 1/6 of our economy? It belies logic to suggest that our federal government can run any health care. So why would you give them more responsibility? Why? It makes no sense. Unless they intentionally want to bring down the economy of the United States. I like this line. I actually stole it from a guy named Jay Beatty. And he would say, if someone was giving him a hard time, he'd say, "Why don't you go lay down by your dish?" So I did kind of steal that line, and I said, most people need to go lay down by their dish, Trailer Park Prophet. And I got several likes. Oh, this is interesting. I got this from my friend Fran King, who is a wonderful person, and she always finds the best videos and pictures that are heartwarming. Okay, but this is a map of the United States, and inside each individual state is a description of what that particular state is known for. As example, Hawaii is known as the highest tax burden. Alaska, highest firearm death rate. Washington State, highest rate of food stamp fraud. Oregon, highest child care cost. Nevada. Oh, where's my music? I want my music back. Oh, so relaxing. So relaxing. Alright, back to the states map. Montana, highest motor vehicle death rate. Idaho, highest animal abuse rate. Idaho has the highest animal abuse rate. Now that could be because Idaho has better reporting on animal abuse. You know, you got to ask yourself whether or not these numbers are accurate or if they're tainted because of some outside force. Although I imagine all of these are pretty accurate. Alright, what about Utah? Highest prevalence of poor mental health, Utah. New Mexico, highest rate of home foreclosures. Oh no, that's Arizona, highest rate of home foreclosures. New Mexico is worst state for child well-being. I don't know why that's funny. Texas is lowest high school graduation rate. Oklahoma, lowest percentage of adults who visit a dentist. Arkansas, worst emergency preparedness. I guess they don't think they're in the way of an impending disaster. They're like, cool. Nebraska, worst capital markets. Oh, you're not going to believe this. Kansas. What do you think Kansas is number one in? Well, guess what? It's for the worst sex trafficking laws. I don't know what makes a sex trafficking law worse, but that's the situation in Kansas. Let's see. What is that state? Oh, that's South Dakota. No, North Dakota. Most workplace fatalities. Wisconsin, highest alcohol abuse and dependency rates. Illinois, worst state for nonprofit agencies. Indiana, most toxic chemicals in the water. Minnesota, most high school students injured with a weapon. Interesting. Let's see. Florida. Oh, this is good to know. Worst pedestrian safety. And on and on and on and on. Louisiana, highest murder rates. So everybody is known for something. That's a little loud, isn't it? Alright, let me check my studio. No callers. Back to the show. This is kind of weird. This is from Kane TV, my black conservative friend, idol. I guess I'm a fan. At any rate, best of Kane, best of Herman Cain. He writes here, I love Herman Cain. This is Herman Cain. He says, wait, what? Democrats at least publicly claim to believe a lot of crazy stuff. They think Obamacare is a political positive. They think the Constitution is outdated, and they think that we can only obey the rules by breaking them. Tortured logic is their bread and butter. So when they start claiming that Putin has begun to panic due to the Obama administration's strength, we really shouldn't be surprised. That is pretty weird. According to Democrat Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut, that's just what has happened. The craziness goes something like this. Obama is so strong and his international clout is so potent that Ukraine felt confident that they could ditch Russia and join the EU. As a result, Putin panicked and went on the offensive. Now, that is world-class spinning by Democratic Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. So did you get it? Putin is so afraid that Obama had to secure Ukraine's EU-centric future that he freaked out, overcame his fears, ignored all that supposed strength, and invaded. All right, here, let's listen. Here's a video here. This is actually a guy on MSNBC making this claim. I can't remember this guy's name, but this will be kind of comical.
Joining me now is Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, a member of the Committee on Foreign Relations who just got back from Ukraine. Senator Murphy, you along with Senator McCain, I think, have been probably the two most outspoken members of the United States government in condemning Russian incursions and supporting them. I want to play for you a little more of what Senator McCain had to say about the president's handling today. Take a listen.
And the president said we will, quote, consider other options. The president should have said we're going to provide military assistance to Ukraine, and that will be in defensive weaponry. But to not do that after this country has lost a large part of its territory due to Russian aggression, I think, frankly, it's encouraging, and it makes me less optimistic about Putin exercising restraint in eastern Ukraine.
You agree with your colleague we should be offering military assistance to Ukraine?
Yeah, John and I have agreed on most of our policy towards Ukraine. We've traveled there twice together in the last 3 months, but it's probably no secret that I don't agree with him on this score. First of all, John has been a critic of the Obama administration on this issue since day one, and frankly, the fact that we are here today with a very weak Russia, having had the entirety of the Ukraine turn away from Russia and towards the EU, and having to have engaged in a panicky reaction of invasion, is a result in part of the United States United States strength on this issue, standing with the protesters throughout that difficult period of time at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And the difficulty now is that ultimately the United States can't change the calculus in Russia on our own. We have to work in conjunction with the Europeans. This is a first step which sends a very clear signal to Putin that we are going to stand together with our European partners, and that if he doesn't reverse course in the coming days, I imagine there's going to be a new round of crippling economic sanctions. And so I think this is a process by which we're trying to give Putin a chance to de-escalate, and then the next step will clearly be a new set of sanctions.
Well, so this chance to de-escalate, I mean, what strikes me here is that it does seem as if we're at the beginning of a kind of classic logic of escalation sort of situation, in which the U.S., as a means of trying to deter, further territorial incursions, threatens X, and then the territorial incursion happens, and so you have to come through with the threat, and then there's a response from Russia, which does not want to be seen as weak or backing down or cowed by the Americans, and I just do worry about how we change the course of this unfolding in a way that does not lead towards a kind of tit-for-tat cycle of escalation.
Yeah, well, remember, there is a history here which suggests that Putin can make a different decision. He marched into Russia in 2008, and then when there was a threat of sanctions from the United States and Europe, he backed off. And so I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that that can happen here, but you've got to give him the chance to reverse course. I would argue that we should follow on with this announcement pretty quickly with sanctions on Russian banks, on Russian petrochemical companies, and part of the difficulty is convincing Europe to come along with us. He marched into Crimea because he didn't believe that these sanctions were going to happen, and I think today's just the first step. Ultimately, it's our only way out right now. I mean, Senator McCain's idea that you're going to be able to arm up the Ukrainian military in the next several days in order to forestall a Russian invasion is fiction. There are ways that we can help their military, but let's be honest, if the Russians choose to march in the coming days, there's not a lot that we or the Ukrainians can do to stop that.
And that gets to part of the core issue here, right, is the asymmetry between how important Ukraine is to Russia and how important it is to the U.S., which is to say, Ukraine is a whole lot more important to Russia than it appears to be to the U.S.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that that's ultimately true in the sense that Putin is rewriting the rules of international border setting right now, and you could look at all sorts of other countries that have their eyes on other territories. China looking at the Senkaku Islands, for instance, that are going to draw lessons from this. Now, it shouldn't matter to you more than it matters to us, because if he gets away with the incursion into Ukraine, well, then it's a NATO ally that is likely next. But there are precedents that are being set here that do matter to the United States. We're not getting into another Cold War. The world is not aligned along those parameters any longer, but there are precedents that really cause us to ratchet up sanctions very quickly.
Senator Chris Murphy, thank you for your time tonight.
So what you just witnessed was a random act of journalism on MSNBC, and if you read between the lines of what the senator was saying, Senator Murphy was saying there, it is something I don't think he really meant to say. He probably does have some, well, we know he has some secret information. He's been briefed, most likely, or he's talked to one of his colleagues that have been briefed on what's going on in the Ukraine and Russia and whatnot, and it sounds like this senator knew that there were a lot of armed Russian troops, a lot of Russian military assets in the Ukraine, in that area, Crimea, and basically he told us in that interview that it's over, that it's a foregone conclusion. And then he was kind of like wildly thinking out loud there, and he talked about those islands that are contested between Japan and China, and how China is spoiling for a fight with China. I mean, he was having a stream of consciousness that told us that now it looks like China is going to take over these islands because of their active involvement or actively watching how the Obama administration reacts to Russia and the Ukraine. I mean, he was basically telling us that both cases of international aggression by Russia and China are basically a foregone conclusion. Ay, ay, ay. And I mean, that's pretty much what we've been saying here all along, basically. Here's another story from Herman Cain. I just stumbled on it. I knew this story was out there, and I didn't have a source. I heard people talking about this. This, again, is from Herman Cain. He has a website. And let's see here. You're missing the video converter tool. Actually, I gotta get this video. Alright, I forgot. Herman Cain now wants us to adopt his video converter tool. I want to make sure this is the deal. But I think we have to also agree to be part of Ask. And I hate Ask. But I would like to hear a little Herman Cain talking about what's going on in Ukraine. Maybe I'll try and do this. Click here, free download. Alright, I guess I can always... no, I don't want them to be my home page. And I don't want them to be my default search engine. So I'm allowing the download so that we can listen to Herman Cain. Install now. You know, I'm doing this because it's going to make the show a little better, and I'm doing it now because I want you to be here with me. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be here when I'm doing stuff for the show. It makes you more part of what I'm doing here as a citizen journalist. Alright, I want to go back to Herman Cain. Let's see if I can do this. I'll bet you anything this isn't going to work. I just don't have... Now I can't even find the Herman Cain story. Alright, never mind. Excuse me. Oh, yeah. Well, wait, maybe I can do this yet. Okay, back to Herman Cain. Best of Cain. And I want to see if I can find this story. Okay, we did the Democratic story of Chris Murphy, the state senator. Alright. And now I wanted to go to this other story. And the story is that the Putin administration and Putin administration officials are openly mocking President Obama, openly mocking the president in their media and also on the national scene. So you got to know that the president is one who has a thin skin, and if he's being mocked on the world scene by Putin or anyone else, the president is pissed. That's the kind of character that President Obama is. If someone's openly mocking him, he's just like a schoolboy. You know what I'm saying? He's pissed. He wants revenge. He's visceral. And you know, that's when somebody's dangerous too. Someone, if they're thin-skinned like this president is, and they're being jeered and made fun of, they're likely to do something out of character. And that's what kind of scares me with this president. You know, he says he's not for war. Well, I can't find this damn video. Alright, Herman Cain, I'm telling you, I'm having a tough time with your website. I know it's probably me, but what are you going to do? Alright, let me do a station ID. You're listening to Daniel Gray. I'm the Trailer Park Prophet, broadcasting live on Blog Talk Radio from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado. This is Hump Day with the Prophet. Oh, let's get the music going again. We need some healing energy here on the Trailer Park Prophet Show. Quick look for callers. No callers. If you want to call in, you can do so. 646-716-8506. Again, if you'd like to talk to Daniel Gray, the Trailer Park Prophet, you can do so by dialing 646-716-8506. Here's a story out of Crested Butte, Colorado. And I'm probably no longer a friend of this guy. His name is Chad Reich, and Chad Reich lives in Crested Butte, Colorado, and he is the station manager of K-Butt, which of course is affiliated with NPR, and David Reich is one of my Facebook friends, and he's actually showing a picture here of a race they had yesterday called the Al Johnson race. And every time this year they have this race. I guess it was on March 23rd, or it's going to be on March 23rd. Oh, okay. This is a picture, actually, of last year. And what happens on March 23rd every year is all the skiers dress up in costumes to celebrate the end of the season. And some people are real funky. And this one hairy hippie from Crested Butte is on skis, and he has a cardboard cross attached to his back. In other words, this guy is mocking Christ. He has long curly hair. He's a hippie. He's got a beard, sunglasses. Looks like he has something around his forehead, probably something that looks like a wreath of thorns. He doesn't have a shirt on. He's hairy. He looks like he has a cheap pair of underwear on, hairy legs, but he's mocking Jesus. And he has this huge, towering cardboard cross standing over him, attached to his back. And on the cross says, what I can read is, Jesus saves an investment. Jesus saves and investments. So he's mocking Christ, and I should go to this guy's page, this Chad Reich. And I wrote on this guy's page, Chad Reich, about how I kind of thought that this was Christian phobic. And I asked him whether or not it would be allowed in Crested Butte to make fun of Islam. And just the irony that in Crested Butte and other places across the country, it's okay to make fun of Christians, but you don't dare make fun of Islam. And I can guarantee you, this photo we're looking at, this is from last year, I imagine. And it was most likely on the front page of the Crested Butte News. Now here it is. I'm on Chad Reich's Facebook page, and he took down all of my comments. All my comments got taken down. And nobody's saying anything, but I'll bet you anything that people attacked me. I can just promise you that. But it's still on his page, you know. And here he is. Chad Reich is the program director at K-Butt Community Radio. He's been working there since 2006, cushy job. Studied marketing, religion, sociology at the University of Iowa. And he's from Peoria, Iowa. In a relationship with Crystal Pistol. You know, and he's always so hip, and he lets everybody know, oh, I'm on the air. But here he is, he's still sharing hate. Here's this picture on his page, you know, making fun of Christ. And I should say there's also a Buddha there, but no mention of Mohammad. Alright, back to my show. Oh, you know what I wanted to do? Maybe I wanted to read a little bit from Encyclopedia Britannica. And here's another thing. I'm going to make you guys... I want you guys to be there when I'm doing research. I think it'll bring us closer together. But first I want to go back. I want to make sure there's no stories I'm missing before we go to Mohammad. We could go back to Drudge. I don't know. I have a feeling not much is going on. Alright, I kind of lost my place here, but I am reclaiming my order. Let's see. Crimea votes to join Russia. We did that story a few days ago, but Herman Cain is on the story now. Oh, good. I'm glad we came back. Here's another Alan West story. Oh, I'm so glad we came back. This is a big story. This, again, I got this from Alan B. West. He has a website, and he put this up today. And he says one of the faults of the 24-hour news cycle is that it promotes a sort of attention deficit disorder. It has become rather difficult for Americans to stay focused, and attention is guided by whatever is playing essentially on the news media. And again, he talks about how everybody's paying attention to the Malaysia airliner. But yesterday, let's see, before a congressional committee, they had this ranking official, Army official, telling us, I thought we had a video here. Let me get to the meat of this. Okay, so here's another key story the media isn't addressing. Recently, the new CENTCOM commanding general, Army General Lloyd Austin, testified before the House Armed Services Committee about the security situation in the geographic area of responsibility. General Austin was a mentor of mine when I served as a brigadier operations officer at Fort Bragg when he was commanding the 505 Parachute Infantry Regiment, the 82nd Airborne Division. It was also General Austin as commander in Iraq who made recommendations to President Obama for a residual force capacity, which Obama rejected, and now the black Al-Qaeda flag flies in that nation once more. That's, well, you know how I feel about that. As reported in Foreign Policy Initiative, even as Washington focuses on major crises in the Ukraine this week, our top general for the Middle East warned Congress about growing threats in this area of responsibility. General Austin told the committee the region has reached a strategic inflection point with looming dangers emanating from Iran, Syria, Afghanistan, and Al-Qaeda affiliates. CENTCOM Commander General Austin, get a load of this, had 4 key warnings about the region. 1. Iran's regional security threat continues to grow. Iran's growing counter-maritime missile and cyber capabilities together pose a very real and significant threat to U.S. and our partners' interests. Number 2, Syria, which lies at the center of a worsening regional conflict, is now a strategic threat and humanitarian catastrophe. While the United States estimated that only 800 to 1,000 jihadists were in Syria a year ago, that could be as many as 7,000 or more violent extremists there today. Number 3, complete U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan would be catastrophic. We reported on that here. And I've told you, I don't know how many times, if we leave Afghanistan on the deadline schedule that Obama has proposed, there are going to be a lot of women and children and other individuals that are going to be massacred by the jihadis, primarily by the Taliban. In other words, Obama is setting up genocide in Afghanistan. All right, number 4, the terror threat posted by Al-Qaeda and its affiliates persists. Core organization may have been weakened, but the jihadist movement itself is active in more locations, both in the CENTCOM region and globally. And, I mean, he just goes on and on and on and on about how things in the Middle East are basically a powder keg. Something's about to happen. It's almost inevitable. Oh, here's a quote from Frederick Douglass. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Amen to that. Oh, here's another from Kane TV. Hopefully we have some video. At any rate, this story's out there. And ironically, this story is about the Associated Press. And Herman Cain says, you should remember the promise, should he be elected, Obama's administration, this in 2008, would be the most, quote, transparent in history. That was 2008 when a relatively unknown senator promised that a hypothetical President Obama would correct the transgressions of his predecessor, George W. Bush, was, accordingly to Democrats, a monster whose administration bordered on dictatorship, as it did everything in its power to keep its secrets. President Obama would, they promised, reverse all of that. So how does the AP think things are going? The Associated Press, the Obama administration is more often than ever censored government files or outright denied access to them. Last year, under the U.S. Freedom of Information Act, according to the new analysis of federal data by the Associated Press, the administration cited more legal exceptions. It said justified withholding materials and refused a record number of times to turn over files quickly that might be especially newsworthy. Most agencies also took longer to answer records requests, the analysis found. The government's own figures from 99 federal agencies covering 6 years show that halfway through his second term, the administration has made few meaningful improvements in the way it releases records despite its promises from day one. You know, this is old news. But it's nice to see that the Associated Press and some others in the so-called media are starting to recognize that their rights, too, are being infringed upon. Oh, this is kind of funny. This came from my friend Doug Davis. He wrote, he's being kind of flippant here. He says, Iran is building nukes. Syria is killing its own citizens. Putin is reconstituting the old USSR, and Obama tweets twerking videos. Awesome. And I don't know if this is true. I mean, do you think President Obama is actually twerking videos? You know, that's interesting. I hope you know what twerking is. I'm not going to tell you. Oh, this is totally this is freaky. This kind of wigs me out. This comes from the Washington Post. An article from their national security section. Oh, I might have a video. Cool. Headline, NSA surveillance program reaches into the past to replay phone calls. Oh, this might be good. All right, take it away, NSA.
The Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women program provides business skills to female entrepreneurs worldwide.
If you train one woman, you train a nation, so that woman will give back to her community what she has learned.
See more women creating economic growth.
Cool. Yeah, you know, in honor of Women's History Month. Alright, let's go with the video here. This is the National Security Agency has built a surveillance system capable of recording 100% of a foreign country's telephone calls. Wow. According to people with direct knowledge of the effort and documents supplied by former contractor Edward Snowden, the Post's Ascan Salante is making this claim, and we're trying to get this video to go here. Why not let these people do my work for me? I don't know, I like to hear videos. I think you do too. Alright, let's see if this thing's gonna post. No. Alright, well, oh, here we go. This ought to go. NSA surveillance program reaches into the past to retrieve. Ah, darn it, it's not going to run. Alright, no el problemo. You know what? I wanted to do a little bit on Mohammad anyway. Oh, here, we'll do this video. Here's President Obama. We've played this before. I'll let him explain his message by himself. All right, President Obama.
I've taught constitutional law for 10 years. I take the Constitution very seriously. The biggest problems that we're facing right now have to do with George Bush trying to bring more and more power into the executive branch and not go through Congress at all. And that's what I intend to reverse when I'm President of the United States of America.
Yeah. Alright, let's see here. I want to make sure I'm not missing a really important story. Oh, this is kind of interesting. Headline, Democratic Tradition. And this is a list of recent Democrat presidents and what they gave away during their term. Roosevelt lost China and gave away Eastern Europe. Carter lost Iran and gave away the Panama Canal. Clinton lost the dignity of the Oval Office and gave away our borders. Obama lost Egypt and is giving away the internet. It's a Democrat tradition, Washington Times. And I wanted to say that, you know, use this story because Washington Times is basically saying that Obama gave up the internet. And we talked about this before and why I get kind of confused on whether or not the Obama administration made some sort of unsavory agreement with the United Nations regarding the internet. It's a big story. I guess I need to work more. I mean, I've looked around. I really have tried. Ooh, I know what I want to do here. Did you hear this story? Oh, this is a big story too. There's a story out there that the Obama administration is trying to undermine the president of Israel, Netanyahu, and that the Obama administration is trying to support a more moderate individual to run against Netanyahu. And that's big news. Big story. Remember the Obama girl back in 2008? I guess she has decided to denounce her allegiance to President Obama, and she actually burned her little, oh yeah, I want to do this. Okay, how much time we got left? We're going to have to do this story. Should I do this story now, or should we do a little bit on Mohammad? Let's do some on Mohammad. The reason I'm doing this, I got this from Encyclopedia Britannica, and remember I told you that a lot has been scrubbed from the history about Mohammad? Well, I'm starting to get the feeling that we need to go back to the basics and start learning more about Mohammad and Islam and the other leaders that are out there today. if we really love our liberty, we've got to understand that we have an enemy, and that enemy is theocracy of Islam. All right, so this is, again, this is from Encyclopedia Britannica. I'll check and see what year this is. My guess is this is from the 70s. Yep, 70s. This was published back in 1974 when I graduated from high school. And my contention is that they have scrubbed the bad reflections on Muhammad from Wikipedia and also from the Encyclopedia Britannica that's online. So that's why I thought if we went back to 1972 and looked at what Britannica had to say about the Muhammad the Prophet and what they're saying now, that we'll have a good idea and some proof that there actually is a scrubbing of the history of Muhammad. It says here, the founder of the religion of Islam and of the Arab Empire, Muhammad initiated religious, social, and cultural developments of monumental significance in the history of mankind. And it goes into his full name, and I've tried to do that before, and we're not going to repeat that mistake. Okay, here's the early life of Muhammad. He was born in Mecca in 570 after the death of his father. Abd Allah Muhammad was at first under the care of his parental grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. Because the climate of Mecca was considered to be unhealthful, he was given as an infant to a wet nurse from a nomadic tribe and spent some time in the desert. At 6, he lost his mother, Amnah, of the clan of Zuhra, and at 8, his grandfather. Though his grandfather had been head of the prestigious Hassan clan and was prominent in Mecca politics, he was probably not the leading man in Mecca. As some sources suggest, Muhammad came under the care of a new head of the clan, his uncle Abu Talib, and is reputed to have accompanied him on traveling journeys to Syria. About 595 on such a journey, he was in charge of the merchandise of a rich woman, Kahitha, of the clan of Asad, and so impressed her that she offered marriage. She is said to have been about 40, but she bore Muhammad at least 2 sons who died young and 4 daughters, of whom the best known was Fatima, the wife of Muhammad's cousin Ali, who is regarded as Muhammad's divinely ordained successor by the Shia branch of Islam. Until the Qajjah death in 619, Muhammad took no other wife. The marriage was a turning point in Muhammad's life. By Arab custom, minors did not inherit, and therefore Muhammad had no share in the property of his father or grandfather, but by his marriage he obtained significant capital to engage in the mercantile activity on a scale commensurate with his abilities. Seems kind of watered down to me. And this is from 1972. The prolific call and early religious activity, or the prophetic call, meaning this is when Muhammad first started having these visions. Muhammad, it appears to have been of a reflective turn of mind and is said to have adopted the habit of occasionally spending nights in a hill cave near Mecca. The poverty and misfortunes of his early life doubtless made him aware of tensions in Mecca society. Mecca, inhabited by a tribe of the Qurayshes, which the Hashim clan belonged was a mercantile center formed around a sanctuary, the Kaaba, which assured the safety of those who came to buy and sell at the fairs. In the later 6th century, there was extensive trade by the camel caravan between Yemen and Syria, Gaza, and Damascus, bringing foods from India and Ethiopia to the Mediterranean. And the great merchants of Mecca had obtained a monopoly control of this trade. Mecca was thus prosperous, but most of the wealth was in the hands. Tribal solidarity was breaking up. Merchants pursued individual interest and disregarded their traditional duties. To the unfortunate about 610, as he reflected on such matters, Muhammad had a vision of majestic being, later identified with the angel Gabriel, and heard a voice saying to him, "You are the messenger of God." This marked the beginning of his career as messenger or apostle of God or prophet. From this time, at frequent intervals until his death, he received revelations. That is, verbal messages that he believed came directly from God. Sometimes these were kept in memory of Muhammad and his followers, and sometimes they were written down. After 650, they were collected and written in the Quran, or Quran, the sacred scriptures of Islam, in the form that has endured till today. Muslims believe the Quran is written in the very words of God himself, and sound scholarship requires that Muhammad be adjudged sincere in his views that the Quran was not the product of his conscious mind. So God is speaking directly to Muhammad through Gabriel. Muhammad is said to have been perturbed after the vision and first revelation, but to have been reassured by his wife, Khadijah, in his later experiences of receiving messages. There was normally no vision. Occasionally there were physical concomitants, such as perspiring on a cold day, and these gave rise to the suggestion, now agreed to be unwarranted, that he was an epileptic. Sometimes he heard a noise like a bell, but apparently never a voice. So this is the version I remembered reading from the Encyclopedia Britannica online about 3 years ago, which I think now has been kind of scrubbed. So here they're suggesting that Muhammad actually was an epileptic and that he took advantage of these seizures to suggest that he was actually having these communications with the angel Gabriel. And we'll have to see if he goes into any more detail, but it was my understanding that the reason that Muhammad was sent away early on was that he was seen as an embarrassment to his family, that Muhammad was actually a person who was compromised, and in the Islamic world or Arab world it was looked down upon to have somebody who was mentally compromised, and that's why Muhammad got sent away. The essence of such an experience was that he found a verbal message in his heart, that is, in his conscious mind. With the help of Jacal's Christian cousin Warwith, he came to interpret these messages as, in general, identical with those sent by God through other prophets or messengers to Jews, Christians, and others, and to believe that by the first great vision and by the receipt of these messages, he was commissioned to communicate them to his fellow citizens and other Arabs. The proclamation and the messages must have been accompanied by the explanation and imposition in his own words. So we're going to continue on with this on next Wednesday, but we're going to go through this. We're all going to go through this together, and we're going to learn more about who Mohammad is, because he's one of the most influential people in modern times today. All right, everybody, drizzle, drazzle, drizzle, drone. Time for this prophet to get back to the forest. Thanks a lot for being here. We'll see you on Friday for Local Friday. We're going to talk about my personal experiences. I'm going to pick up where I left off last week. Thanks a lot for being here, everybody. You know who loves you, the Trailer Park Prophet. That's who. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks a lot.